everyone, it's Hayes, and in today's video we're going to be talking about what's next for Luka now he knows both Marinette and Adrian are Ladybug and Cat Noir, because the implications of this are going to be huge. However, I did try and think of more like plot-based ideas about like what this could mean, like this very specific repercussions of this. However, the problem with that is that we don't really have that much information about any of the episodes going on past episode 18 apart from the finale, and Luka isn't mentioned in the finale. I'm going to get on to talking about the finale where Luka is concerned later on, so this is going to be more of a general about what could happen and what maybe we'd all like to see. I've tried to collect together my thoughts with your thoughts from the comment sections on all of my Wishmaker videos I've done so far, mainly my reaction video and my commentary video, just to try and work out what we're all thinking and put it together in one concise video. So we're essentially going to start off by asking, what will Luka do with this information? And if it was me, if I had been Luka in that moment, I would have immediately burst into tears. I wouldn't have been able to handle it. However, as just like a viewer and a fan of the show, as we all know, I love the show, it's my favourite TV show. As a viewer of the show, I'm just glad one of the characters now has to share this, I don't know how to describe it, the love square with us essentially, and the inner workings of it. I'm just really glad there's someone in the show who is experiencing this with us, because it's just been too long, all of us dealing with this alone but also all together as like a big fandom problem.
Imagine how tired we are of it.
So as you all know from my Miraculous Monday screaming sessions, I am a Love Square stan. I will literally, probably at this point, I'm not even joking or being dramatic, I would quite literally die for any of these 4 ships to actually happen in the show. Not kidding. So my primary thought would have been the Love Square. However, because this is Luka and he thinks about things very differently than not just me, but just most people on this planet, to be honest, with all the music metaphors and stuff, I don't think that would have been his primary thought. So I think that when he saw that Ladybug was Marinette, I think maybe his primary thought there was, okay, no wonder the events of truth happened, no wonder she was always running off, no wonder we couldn't spend any time together when we were dating. She must be heckin' stressed. Okay, I'll rewind. We're just gonna say big yikes to that and let's move on. And then 5 minutes later, he finds out Adrian is Chat Noir, and the look on Luka's face, I'll put the picture on the screen. Luka in that moment, he was done, he was a broken man. I think he will eventually realise about the Love Square. He'll take some time to think, okay, well, I know Marinette is in love with Adrian, everyone knows that in our friendship group, apart from Adrian. And then he'll realise, okay, but Adrian doesn't like Marinette like that. In my opinion, Adrian does, but because he likes Ladybug as Chat Noir, he doesn't see it, but Luka, like everyone else in Paris, knows Chat Noir is in love with Ladybug, but Ladybug doesn't love him like that. He will eventually put it together and realise it. But I think his thought in that moment was, oh my god, 2 of my best friends are Ladybug and Chat Noir. I think that was more of his thinking than romance. Speaking of romance though, is Alia ever going to say anything? Maybe we're just still missing it. Maybe it happened in episode 5. Who knows when that's coming. But like, she just hasn't mentioned it. Fair enough, she's not going to pester Marinette like, hey, do you have feelings for Chat Noir? But Marinette as Ladybug has kissed him twice. Is she never going to ask her friend about that? Like, surely to god, after Gang of Secrets, Mr. Pigeon 72 was getting used to the new dynamic between them. Now Alia knows Marinette is Ladybug. But surely to god, episode 5, Alia is eventually, please, finally gonna say something about it. Like, come on. After Marinette had calmed down in Gang of Secrets, if I had been Alia, that would have literally been my first question, probably after, can I see you transform? Can I see your Kwame? What's going on with Chat Noir? You just never gonna talk about it, Alia? No? So that's kind of what I think Luka is kind of thinking. I don't think his primary concern would have been on the Love Square like the way I am concerned with it. I'm always concerned about it. It's the only thing I think about, to be honest. So I don't think he will think about that immediately. I think he's just kind of like, okay, 2 of my best friends are Ladybug and Cat Noir. Well, what do I do with this information? And he's probably just like, I can't do anything with this information because no one knows that I know. If I was in his position right now, after the events of Wishmaker, I wouldn't have been able to stop crying. I'd be like, I can't deal with the secret. So now let's talk about what Luka will do. And like I said, this isn't really plot specific to any of the episodes because as of making this, the only other episode we know about is the finale episode, really, so I can't really predict anything specifically to do with each episode because we know pretty much nothing about them. However, I think what Luke is going to be doing, just like in general, like I said, not that specific, is that I think he's going to be really there for Adrian and Marinette, but I think more so there for Adrian. He knows Adrian, even though Adrian does have friends, he is very isolated and he doesn't really have anyone he can talk to at all. He knows Marinette is allowed to go out and allowed to see her friends, whereas Adrian doesn't have that. So I would hope he'd be there for Adrian more. Plus as well, Luka is so calm and kind and thoughtful and really considerate. I feel like Adrian, even though I don't particularly think Luka and Adrian know each other that well, like I don't think they dislike each other, I do think they're friends, but I wouldn't have said they're like, you know, close friends the way Marinette and Alia are. Like they'll have a nice conversation but they're not super close with each other, but they'll still be willing to help the other one out like Luka did in Wishmaker. However, in the show, Adrian, the only person Adrian really expresses himself to is Plag, to be honest. He keeps everything inside. He doesn't really know how to talk about things like that, and he did express himself in terms of what he was feeling a little bit in Wishmaker, but that was a very specific problem he was having about his future and stuff like that. So it wasn't like how I'm feeling in general about feeling isolated all the time, about being left out by Ladybug. And you know, Adrian can talk about it in vague terms. He could be like, oh, well, I have a friend who's leaving me out all the time. I don't think she trusts me anymore. He doesn't have to state it properly, and obviously Luka wouldn't understand what he's talking about, not that Adrian knows, Luka knows. So Adrian hasn't really opened up to anyone who would be able to really help him. Like, don't get me wrong, I love Plag, I think he's great. I thought he was wonderful in Wishmaker, the little bits we got to see with Plag. I really love Adrian and Plag's relationship. But at the end of the day, Plag is a Kwame who has a very warped sense of reality, to be honest. So I'm not really sure how helpful he could be to Adrian in terms of like a real world issue, to be honest. Whereas I think Luka could be quite helpful, and because of Luka's nature, I wouldn't say I have anyone in my life who is like Luka, who's very calm, very considerate, extremely willing to listen and help you with pretty much anything by the sounds of it. I don't particularly have anyone like that, but I feel if I did have someone like that, they would be very, very easy to talk to. So I do hope Adrian can express himself to Luka. I do also think Luka would be there for Marinette, but like I said, she isn't as isolated. Is she stressed? Yes, however, I think there's been a big shift in Marinette's behaviour since Truth and Ganga's Secrets compared to now, which I think Luka, he's so perceptive, I think he would have noticed that. So I think he's going to be there for Adrian more than Marinette. And hopefully that will give both boys more screen time because I just think they're really sweet to see together. Do I kind of ship Luka and Adrian? Yes. I do think eventually Luka might try and help like get the love square together, get Marinette to tell Adrian about his feelings, maybe tell Adrian like, hey, maybe you do kind of have feelings for Marinette after the way you always describe her and talk about her and look at her, because oh my god, the way that boy looks at Marinette. That guilt trip boiler scene is living rent free in my head. I love that scene. I literally can't make a video without mentioning it anymore. But I do think he will finally help the love square get together. But honestly, right now, a romantic relationship, whilst don't get me wrong, I think Marinette would 100% be there for Adrian. She loves the boy. I would argue right now, a girlfriend isn't what Adrian needs. He needs a therapist because he's been through a lot and he's currently going through a lot. He just needs someone to talk to about it all. However, speaking of the love square, and this is the only like episode specific thing that I really have to talk about, is that I think Luka is going to have a big role in the finale. Maybe not big, but I think he'll definitely have a role in it. I think big was the wrong word to use. So we've all read the finale description and Luka isn't mentioned anywhere in it. Marinette is, Adrian is, Lila is, and Shadow Daddy are. I'm pretty sure no other characters in the current description we've got haven't been mentioned yet, just those four. So obviously there's no confirmation that Luka will be involved, but I feel like both Alia and Luka will be involved in the finale. Both of them are extremely important characters this season since they know the identities, and Alia also knows the location of the miracle box and the code to get into where it's kept and stuff like that. So I think maybe Luka could encourage Marinette to go after Adrian, try to stop him from leaving with Lila. Not that he wants to leave, obviously, which we already know as well. I think he could help with that. As we know from Wishmaker and Crocodile, Luka is now like Marinette's wingman essentially. So I think Luka will definitely have a role to play in the finale of the season. Probably with the love square. I just hope between episode 19 and episode 24, yeah, so 25, 26 being the finale, I hope Luka can get Adrian to open up and feel better about himself, because I don't really want the love square to happen when there's so much inner turmoil going on within Adrian about Ladybug. It wouldn't be a healthy relationship as it stands right now. Now, speaking of relationships, let's talk about Marinette and Luka's relationship. Now that Luka knows this, he obviously understands why the events of Truth happened the way they did, and Luka understands why Marinette was running off all the time. Does this mean though that Luka is going to try for a romantic relationship with Marinette again? I think the answer is no. He is well aware Marinette is in love with Adrian. He knows that 100%. So even though he understands what happened in Truth, he also understands Marinette never loved him in the first place. And I do think by the time we got to Wishmaker, I mean, it wasn't ultimately clear. Maybe episodes 15 and 16 could help us figure it out a bit, but it wasn't ultimately clear if Luka was like completely over Marinette, but I definitely think he's getting there. So I think Luka-Net going forward is a definite no. So I think Marinette and Luka will be friends for sure, but I do kind of want to talk about briefly as well about Luka not telling Marinette that he saw her and Adrian's identities. Now on one hand I'm kind of like, okay, that's obviously what Marinette wanted. In Truth, she couldn't tell you what her big secret was, so to Luka, because obviously he doesn't know about Alia, to Luka, this is something that is extremely important to Marinette, and he wanted to respect both how she feels about it and these very clear rules she set, even though she's broken. But Luka obviously doesn't know about that. To him, these rules are set in stone, they cannot be changed for anyone or anything. So he is respecting the rules, and that way as well, by not telling Marinette that he knows, it's also not putting any extra stress or worry on her. We all saw how Marinette was in Sentibubble, not that Luka saw it I'm pretty sure, but we also how stressed Marinette was in Sentibubble after she gave the Miraculous permanently to Alia. She had that dream, that nightmare rather, about her identity being revealed as a direct result of Alia knowing who she was. So this way Marinette has no extra worry on her shoulders, so Marinette not knowing that Luka knows is going to be less stress for her. However, I don't necessarily think that's a good thing. So Marinette is aware that Alia knows her identity, so Marinette can prepare if anything happens to Alia, because Alia knows who she is and she knows where the miracle box is. Marinette can't do a great deal if Alia tells everyone who she is. She can't do much about that. But if she tells everyone about the miracle box, she can move locations, she can hide it. She can't really hide herself, but she can hide the object. So Marinette has some time to plan in case anything happens to Alia. Alia, as much as I love her, she is technically a liability because she knows the secret. And honestly, Alia doesn't seem that great at keeping secrets. So she is a bit of a liability, and Marinette is aware of this. So right now Marinette isn't worried about Luka, but she also can't prepare if something happens to Luka, because how would she know to prepare for anything happening to Luka about her identity or Adrian's identity? Because she doesn't know about it. So Luka is a huge liability. Obviously Luka doesn't know this, he is unaware that Marinette has told someone else her identity, so he doesn't know that. She kind of needs to know so she can plan and prepare for the worst case scenario essentially. So while Marinette isn't worried about Luka because she isn't aware that he knows, she can't plan for what might happen in case something happens to Luka. Now, like I said, we haven't seen 5, 9, 15 and 16, but I would assume 5 and 9 Luka won't get akumatized. 15 and 16, I mean, we don't know anything about them. He could get akumatized, but he also might not. So that kind of part about him being a liability because Marinette doesn't know about him only really works assuming Luka didn't get akumatized in episode 15 or 16, because in that case he would have received a charm, which makes him a lot less of a liability because Alien doesn't have one. Marinette couldn't do it when Ali was last akumatized in Gang of Secrets. So if Luka does get a charm in 15 or 16, things should be okay with Luka knowing the identity. But if he doesn't, it's gonna be fun. I am assuming Luka will eventually tell Marinette that he knows, probably in the finale, like I said, when he's trying to push Marinette to go for Adrian and just to go for it and confess her feelings to him. However, one of you said this and I was like, this would cause absolute carnage. Can you imagine whenever the next time Ladybug is using Viperion, or maybe not even Viperion necessarily, she's just having to rescue Luka from something, and he just calls her Marinette by mistake even though she's Ladybug? The carnage. We also need to ask, would there be an argument between them when Luka finally reveals that he knows? And maybe, like I said, the only other like plot we have at this point is for the finale, so maybe they would scream at each other for a bit, or maybe Marinette screaming at Luka for lying to her in the first place. As we all know, everyone in this show hates lying apparently. So I definitely think this could lead to an argument, however it would depend when it happens. For example, if Luka finally confesses to her in one of the finale episodes that, hey, I know you should go after Adrian because he's Cat Noir, I don't know if he'd tell that as well, maybe. I'm not sure he would. Maybe he would hint at it, but Marinette is so dense I'm not sure she would quite understand, to be honest. But I think maybe if he tells Marinette this in the finale, it sounds like quite a lot is going to happen. I don't think there's going to be time, and I literally mean the time constraints of the episode, 20 minutes each. I don't think there's going to be enough physical time in the episode for them to have a full-on argument together. I think Luka's literally just going to tell it and Marinette's just going to have to react and do something about it, and they can argue about it later, to be honest. I also definitely think Luka is probably going to behave a bit differently around Adrian and Marinette. I don't think he's going to like treat them differently to a point where they'd notice the difference, but kind of a bit like, it's like that quote or something where you should always treat people nicely because you don't know what they're going through, they don't tell you everything. And while Luka can't understand completely what it's like to be Ladybug in Cat Noir and have all these responsibilities, plus going to school, plus all of Marinette's hobbies, plus whatever it's like for Adrian at home, whilst he can't empathise with them, he definitely can sympathise with them. Now he knows generally what's going on with them both. So just in general, I just think Luka's going to be there for them all the time, just whenever they need any help of any kind. He'd be like, Adrian, do you need help tying your shoelaces? I'll be there to help you. I think that's kind of what Luka's going to become, to be honest. Now we do need to talk about, a lot of you have said this, you think Luka is going to betray them. I doubt it. To me, Luka is extremely trustworthy. I said this in my commentary video, I might have said it in my reaction video as well, that I think out of all the characters in the show to know their identities, I think Luka was probably the best choice because of who he is as a person and how kind and caring and thoughtful he is. I think he was the best person to tell. I personally perceive Luka to be an extremely good person. He's very kind, he's very caring, he's a really good listener, and I think he's extremely trustworthy. I don't think he would betray anyone for anything. He would either have to be akumatized, that way the betrayal wouldn't really be his fault exactly. He'd either have to be akumatized or someone he loved would have to be in danger. For example, a bit like in Senti Bubbler, if Shadow Daddy found out that Luka knew who Ladybug and Cat Noir were, I think he maybe like threatened Juleka or threaten one of his parents, or you know, all three of them at the same time. I think it would be like a really dire and desperate situation like in Senti Bubbler where Luka would have to consider betraying them, but I also would hope in Senti Bubbler there would be a way around it to stop that from happening. At the end of the day, if Luka really was going to betray them, if this really was a mistake about him knowing their identities, we would have seen Bunnix by now, I think. However, just thinking about Wishmaker, without using Viperion, there was really no other way that I could have seen that they could have defeated Alec. It would have taken a very, very long time, I think, to defeat him. Like, I don't think they could have done it without Viperion. If this really was a mistake, I think Bunnix would have to go back in time up until the point just before Alec was akumatized in order to stop this event from happening altogether, and then the three of them just have a nice day at the careers fair together and sit on the beach and listen to Luka play the violin. I think that would be the only way to solve it, because in my opinion they really needed Viperion in this Akuma battle. There was no other way to defeat him. So overall, I definitely think we're going to see Luka more in the show from episode 18 onwards. Maybe not so much in 15, 16, 5 and 9, but definitely from 19 towards the finale. I'm not sure he's gonna try and get the Love Squad together immediately. I think he's just gonna be there for both of them separately and maybe eventually be there for them together in terms of them getting together as a couple. But I don't think that's going to be Luka's priority. Adrian doesn't really seem like he'd be in the right headspace for a relationship, whether it was with Marinette, who is extremely caring and cares about him a lot, or if it was someone else. I just don't think right now that's a good option for him, to be honest. Is this dangerous? Yeah, it's dangerous, and it's more dangerous because Marinette doesn't know, so she can't prepare for it. So I hope Luka's mental health as well is going to be okay. And my mental health, and your mental health as well, by the end of this season. The prognosis is not looking good, besties. We're all just going to be crying uncontrollably by the end of episode 26 for like at least 3 weeks. Minimum, you know what I mean? Like, it's just gonna be absolutely insane, but I'm really looking forward to maybe seeing a developing friendship between Luka and Adrian. Like I said before, I don't really view them as being like super close the way like Nino and Adrian are, but I don't particularly feel like Adrian really expresses himself with Nino. Not that I think Nino's a bad friend, I just don't think Adrian really talks about that sort of stuff with him. So those are my thoughts about Luka going forward with this season of Miraculous. I think he's definitely going to become more and more important, which I'm so excited for. I love Luka, I think he's such a sweet character. I'd love to know what you think Luka is going to be doing this season going forward, and also what you think his role in the finale is going to be. I know Luka and Alia weren't mentioned in the finale description, but I definitely think both of them are going to have some kind of role to play, since they are extremely important characters this season. I'll see you all in the next one. Bye!